Most have regarded this as a well-written story, and I happen to agree. It lays the foundation, no pun intended, for a setup under the pretense of a person in need of being done wrong, and Michael is misled in being fed to Cameron Zachary, whom was the man that Tanya Walker reported to. It wasn't very often during Season 2 that Michael would have to revisit his past, but when it was forcefully brought back into the fray through no fault of his own, it's up to him to keep his composure and be able to resolve the situation. And he did surprisingly well with Kitt compromised and unable to assist due to being shut down, as Zachary had figured out that Kitt was the miracle car that Wilton Knight had been working on and wanted the Trans Am in the bargain with Michael Long, as well as being able to assemble the first laser handgun. Even in the 80s, they were thinking of lasers back then. Mind you, I think if given the right time and development, they could do more damage than a regular handgun. But that's my 2 cents on that. We see another setup with Kitt having quirky subplots trying to resolve situations by himself with regard to a dishonest used car salesman attempting to offload a number that has more problems than holes in Swiss cheese. That and the angle of Kitt babysitting the talking teddy bear Mighty Mouth was just amusing, the way the Trans Am saw it as a misuse of technology by installing microchips into a bear that seemed to have more attitude than him, and to quote him, babysitting a pincushion. How demeaning. The biggest highlight of this episode is what some consider the greatest sequence in the TV show's history, and it's the turbo boost from the parking structure into Zachary's apartment. I remember watching this for the first time on DVD back in 2005 thinking, is this for real? It's the kind of stunt work and practical sequences that you just don't see today. Now, I get it from an insurance and safety perspective, but the payoff is so worth it just to have a sequence done practically and not cheapened out with a CG clip. Seriously, Hollywood, tone it down. And I have to echo Kit's question after that sequence. Excuse me, I have just one question. How am I going to get down from here? And to this day, I don't think the show has ever answered that question. Really loved John Vernon's performance as the villainous Zachary. His motives were just as clear in his delivery as well as his actions. Why he wanted Michael eliminated originally, even during his first identity as Michael Long, remains to be seen. As Michael Knight, he's probably just as much of a thorn in his side as before, if not more so with Kitt, as his aide along with the resources of the Foundation for Law and Government. Alexa Hamilton as Gina seemed convincing at first, as someone who had been wronged by someone who had an idea stolen from them, before then giving the game away to the audience of calling Zachary after Michael had left to go to the toy factory. Daniels definitely gave a more emotional performance when being met with the possibility of being shut down against his own will, and expressing his relief at being reactivated after rescuing Michael. I think this was definitely a performance where David had to show how Michael would react to his past being dug up, no pun intended again, because someone still wanted him dead. I always see Michael Knight as an extension of David. It's in a similar vein to that of Tony Stark, just being an extension of Robert Downey Jr. Although the idea of Kitt interacting with Tony Stark is a very thought-provoking idea in of itself. Hollywood, I just gave you your next short movie, TV idea. Iron Man and Kitt. Edward and Rebecca turn in decent performances as they normally do. Onto the score, I think this is one of Don Peake's best. Having the flashbacks, which included some of Stu Phillips' piece from the pilot episode with Tanya shooting Michael in the face, and to the sequence of Kitt turbo boosting into the apartment. He earned his paycheck, and then some, that episode. Time for them discrepancies. Oh boy. Boom mic visible. When Kitt crashes through the apartment and Michael punches out Cameron Zachary, the boom mic shadow is visible on the wall on the left side. Continuity? When Michael enters Gina's apartment the first 2 times, the vestibule is dark even though it is clearly broad daylight outside. Then the 3rd time after Zachary is captured and Michael and Gina return to pack their suitcases, the vestibule is well lit from the daylight outside. Now for some revealing mistakes. When Michael turns on the overhead lights at the factory, he doesn't flip the switch. He just grasps it briefly and it stays in the up position. That and all the other switches in the row were originally. When Kitt reactivates and prepares to smash up through the back doors of the delivery truck, the car's gear shift is put into D, You can clearly hear 3 clicks as it shifts from P to R to N to D. Yet the car then moves backwards to break through the truck's doors and exit out the back. Little bit of trivia. According to Michael Long's headstone, his full name is Michael Arthur Long. Well, we know that from the pilot. The date of birth is January 9, 1949. Day of death, August 8, 1982. Overall, this was a great episode and one of the many gems from Season 2 and the franchise as a whole. Hasselhoff has stated many times that this show is built on heart, humor, and action. And this episode had that and plenty more. And suffice to say that Kit had the last laugh with Mighty Mouth at the end when he ejected him out into the street since Gina wouldn't be needing him anymore. When I think definitive Knight Rider, I think of episodes like this. Good night from the night.